G'day listeners, welcome to Bar Karate, the sailing podcast. My name is Jordan Spencer and it's that time of the week where we get to hang out with some really cool sailors. But unfortunately I have to share the mic with my two idiot mates. So first off, let's welcome to the microphone Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, exalted one.
BP.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever it may be. Hey, this foiling thing's going to take off, don't you think?
You're just catching on to it. Good on you.
No, it seems every show we're talking about foiling.
Yeah. Well, no, you're right, mate. It's a whole new wave. It's great to have exciting. A new wave. Yeah. I love it.
And I'll tell you what, tonight's going to be fun. So let's roll with it.
Okay, cool. Well, let's bring in the other bloke.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Bice, the
G'day,
Bice
man.
Commodore.
G'day.
Bice, yeah. Might not be after that weekend.
I did see the photo of you the day after. You looked a bit rough, old mate.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it was Halloween, so I got away with that.
Oh, you could
darkened up the eyes specifically. I asked the wife if she can just dab a bit of makeup around the eyes with my cleaver through my head, because that's what I felt like. And, yeah, got away with it.
Good on you. Well done. How was it? Was it a good day?
Yeah, great day. Fantastic turnout. Big VIP list. All the sponsors, big boat list. Not quite how I remember it, BP, when we took the VB Express out.
VB Express, no.
Solid 20-odd years ago.
Oh.
We then had about 12 people on a 19-foot yacht and sunk her down. She was a little low on her lines, one would say.
A little low on her rigging too.
Yeah, things have changed now. So instead of sitting on the VB Express drinking VBs, we're basically sitting on the back of Rivieras drinking champagne. It's perfect. Yeah. Fit right in.
Happy opening day, Australia.
Yeah.
So great.
Turnout, good banter with everyone. So
good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good. And I got a Burgee for my Vice Commodore ship. Initial reaction, she'll look good on the Bar Karate Express.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So because they got to fly it when you're in office, you know, they fly it up there with your little
that's right.
dot and whatever.
Yeah, got the dot on there. So.
And tell us about the how did Bice Commodore go? Did that work out well for you?
Yeah, I actually, believe it or not, there was a spare microphone kicking around.
Oh, no.
The sail pass.
How'd you go with that?
I did a bit of commentary. And especially the guys that I knew, guys and girls on particular boats, I took the piss out of them as much as I could in front of, we had senators on board, we had mayors, we had all sorts. So they're much the wiser now.
How'd you go with Sir James?
Yeah, we had a great time with Sir James. He, many a story told, and he actually came to check this out. He came down onto Secret Men's Business to rename the boat. You can't christen a boat; you can only christen a person. And he ran through the whole story. Just about before he's about to pour the champagne on, Sir James, of course, started rattling out a verse from Ulysses.
Oh, there you go.
From me. Like, to be surrounded by such a patron of our sport and that behave in the gentlemanly way that he does and addresses everything and speaks to everyone is blown away. Privilege. Absolute privilege.
Special man.
Yeah, we all love him. Yep. Cool. All right. Well, shall we move on? Shall we bring in our special guest?
We shall.
Okay. Fairly obviously on the show, we're big fans of the foiling. BP made that little joke at the start, which was great. We're big fans of the Moth World. We've got quite involved with them. We're strong relationships across all the sailing brands in this world. But after the recent Moth Worlds, we were just throwing around the idea, and what we're very keen we saw was the whole program they had to bring in more women. So we thought we'd reach out to the woman that won the World Championships at the Moths and welcome her to the show. So Josie Gliddon, welcome to our show.
Thank you for the invite.
It's absolutely our pleasure.
So has it just been all champagne since you've won the Moth Worlds?
Yeah, I would love
just
to
everyone's
say
home,
that. Absolutely. Yeah.
Professional contracts?
Ever since. I have recently been asked to do some crazy thing last Thursday, which was cycle 174 kilometres. So that wasn't even to do with sailing, but nevertheless, it's still good to do.
Where did that come from?
That was the Relay for Nature, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately, a couple of people dropped out because of COVID. COVID's still a big thing here in the UK. So I said, yeah, sure, thinking it was 98 kilometres, and it happened to be about twice as far in the end.
Wow, 98 kilometres, that's nothing. I mean, you know.
Absolutely, exactly.
Hardly worth getting out of bed.
And it was pretty gnarly conditions too, right? Like the weather was quite, one would say, UK-ish.
It was UK-ish plus a bit more, I think, yes. Paul, my husband, said that Poseidon was coming to get us. And I think I just dodged the rain, but when I came into Windermere, literally the lake was about 3 foot higher, and it's not a small lake, so there had been an awful lot of rain, and I might as well have got my swimming goggles out the last couple of miles because there was just so much water around.
Wow.
So what was the event in aid of? You said it was a nature thing. Can you tell us a bit about it?
It was a nature thing, yeah. So Relay for Nature was set up to give the ocean a voice. So COP26 starts today up in Glasgow in Scotland. And the idea is this baton has gone all the way around Europe, and various different organisations have pledged to give the ocean a voice. So, you know, we all love the ocean. But what was really compelling for me, really, while cycling, was you realise how far people live from the ocean. And that's why it's probably so important that others who've got power and influence can actually do something about it, because I'm pretty sure most of the houses that I cycle past weren't thinking about saving the ocean. And the amount of plastic bottles I saw thrown out of car windows, again, I'm pretty sure they weren't thinking about the ocean when they did that. So it was kind of really quite thought-provoking, and made me realise that whilst we all live and breathe the ocean, not everyone does.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was. I'm really glad I did it, and didn't even think that was going to come into it, really. That if we can make a difference, we should.
Were you glad at the 98 kilometre mark when you realised you had another 90 kilometres to go?
Yeah, well, I'd done 60 miles at lunchtime, and they were like, "You're smashing it. You're absolutely smashing this, Josie." And I was like, "Yeah, but I'm literally only just halfway."
That's a long ride. I mean, Bicey used to ride that sort of stuff, and I think, Jay, did you do some riding? I don't know.
Yeah, I did it, but I never went past about 130 k's. I was smart enough not to I had other things to do on the day.
And you call me an idiot. Yeah, it's a long ride. Anyway, that's fantastic, and I guess it got the word out. So good on you.
I think I might stick to sailing. I'm not really a biker.
Right,
not really designed for biking, I don't think.
And tell me, was it a link with there's a few of our colleagues or ex-colleagues here through GAC Pindar. I saw a photo there with Richard from the Ocean Race there as well when it arrived.
Yeah. So
there's obviously that's how it was created.
Absolutely, yeah. So GAC Pindar agreed to do the last sort of, I guess, leg of taking up from Southampton up to Glasgow. I think Jeremy, who did 2 legs, perhaps wish he maybe bit off a little bit more than he could chew. That's
not unlike Jeremy.
It was all to do with the Ocean Race. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, this is how it would have panned out.
Yep.
So GAC Pindar, they've had a little meeting, which would have extended into dinner. And it's like, you know what? We're going to do this. And without any forethought exactly how it was going to pan out. And then our friend JT ends up doing 2 of the legs. It's perfect.
I think it was probably champagne involved in there somewhere, wasn't there?
Here. Absolutely.
There's no doubt.
All right. Well, the important thing is, I guess the one thing I want to get on the record while we're talking is that if you do throw rubbish out your car, it ends up in the ocean eventually. That's just the way it works. Everything that hits the ground ends up in the ocean at some stage. So it's a good message. Yeah. All right. Well, let's rip into you, Josie. Not rip into you physically, but your life and your history. How did you get into sailing?
I moved up to Norfolk Broads, and our family thought it would be a good idea to all learn something together. Didn't really work out like that, but some of us are still sailing, and we're all talking to each other. Just.
And cool. when was this? Is this when you were a young girl or recently? Well, obviously not recently, but
yeah. So I was 8, and my sister was 7 at the time.
Yeah.
And what?
And you still getting over it. Just.
Yeah, and what I found really interesting is when I was doing all the Oppie thing, they're like, "Oh, you've got into sailing really late."
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? It's a hard sport to learn the longer you go. It's like before you start walking, it's the time to start sailing.
Yeah, I mean, we were the first generation, or I'm kind of like first generation in my family. But it's such a good sport, most people are multi-generational, aren't they?
Yeah. I want to get onto that one. So one of the things we try and do at the show is get more people into the sport. So to be first generation, I'm intrigued as to what the actual spark was that we thought, oh, let's go sailing. Was it because the yacht club was promoting? Was it, it looked nice in a picture? Do you know?
I think my parents we'd lived on the East Coast a little while and they tested it out. And then we went and lived in the Broads, and the Broads are really small little lakes, for those of you who don't know. They're man-made. They're about 2 meters deep. Mm-hmm. So it's super safe to learn as a kid. So, we'd go off and pretend that we were swallows and Amazons and cruise down the river and go off to the little island and explore. So it was a safe place, I think. And that was probably the reason why we started this as a hobby.
I've worked it out. So your parents thought, okay, we've got this stretch of water, really shallow. They're not going to drown. They can't get lost. They can't go too far. And they'll be out of earshot. We don't have to put up with them or listen to them. It's the perfect solution.
I think that was it.
Yeah.
I think that was exactly the reason. It was like brilliant, free childcare.
Auto babysitting service.
Buy them a really old wooden boat and off they can go together.
Wow. I love it. It's just genius. So did you like it from day one, or you just kept going? You wanted to go back every day, or?
Yeah, I was quite an intense 8-year-old, and painting the bottom of my Oppie was fun for me. I don't know why, but I was in the garage doing something, tinkering with my boat from a very young age.
I love it.
Yeah, it was good, really good.
That's very cool. I can imagine your dad and mum just sitting home. Not only did we get rid of her when she's out on the water, but now she's out in the garage.
Now she's in the shed.
You just can't lose.
And
I tidied the garage as well, because that's what my boat was.
Your dad's super smart. I should take a leap out of that. I just got a Sabo.
Your father written a book?
Can I borrow it?
You must have been a dream child.
So you've done the full circle now, and you've ended up with a moth which loves a bit of tinkering work done. But where were you in between Opti to moth?
Oppie to moth, did 420, 470, match racing, lots of different open keelboat stuff, offshore, you name it. I'll try and get on it. So yeah, lots of different sailing over the years.
So which club do you call your club in your area?
Netley Sailing Club. Netley. I think.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Don't quote me on this, but you will probably. I think it has most moth in the world.
Oh wow!
Which is saying something. Yeah. We might not be like the most number of pros in the world, but we have about 35 or 40 moths.
Wow!
Sailing club.
That's fantastic.
Quite a lot.
Yeah. Geez, that's pretty good.
We've often spoken about the success of yachting in the UK, and so why there's so many moths is what I'm trying to get to, and it's obviously leads and breeds to some great sailors. But why is there so many? Do you think?
Oh golly! Well, we have a few enthusiasts who build their own. And I think the class has changed over the years. I've only been in the class for 5 years. but there used to be a lot of home builders and these eccentric people probably building their own moths. But of course, we do have one of the best boat builders here in the UK, which just really helps. So, they're the turnkey sailors, throw some money at it, and I've got a race-winning boat. Or you've then got the other end of the spectrum of those people building moths in their garages, spending an awful lot of time. But there's some pretty cool, like Brad Gibson's moth right now. He turned it upside down. Go check it out. It's a pretty special looking boat, and he just loves it. He loves the concept of it.
Mm. So there's the massive tinker element.
But
yeah. And I have two to play with, of course, because my husband sells one as well.
So he comes down to his boat and goes, "That wasn't there the other day."
Yeah, you were.
What does that rope do?
Why is my garage so clean?
and where's my boat gone?
Just before we go in depth on the moth, obviously 420, 470, like were you targeting Olympics, that sort of thing, or were you just sailing everything you could get your hands on?
No, I did with the youth stuff, and then did the Olympic circuit for about 5 years. Got told I wasn't going to games, so I decided that I'd go and try and get a real job after that. But my sailing partner did pretty well, Saskia Clark. She's a pretty handy sailor. So it was like sliding doors. She went down one route of her life, and I kind of went down the others. And it was one of the proudest moments ever, seeing her get a medal at Weymouth, and I was sort of there watching her. It's pretty cool.
So who told you weren't going to make it?
Oh, someone in the British sailing British sailing team.
Jeez, I hate that.
You're allowed to use names if you want.
Yeah, I hate that.
No problem.
That's okay. I won't at this point.
Right, more alcohol. Let's fix that. What about the keel boats? What keel boating have you done? Are you like Fastnet, that sort of thing, or?
Yeah, I've done the Fastnet twice as navigator. So did all my yachtmaster theory and that sort of thing when I was really young. So I navigated Fastnet at the age of 24.
Of course you did.
Kind of love a bit of offshore.
You're really coming across with a certain type of mindset, you've got a valuable position on any boat with that sort of mindset, that's for sure.
Well, I think most of my friends say I'm the biggest nerd they know, so that's okay. I quite like that sort of nerdy aspect of navigating and that sort of thing.
We often say that about Jordan, but we use a few other explicits around it as well.
I think, Bicey, you only said the other day talking about navigators in the UK. There seem to be a lot of people that push into that area. It's interesting that you be doing that.
Yes, Tom Cheney's a good friend, and he's done extremely well this year. Yeah, extremely well. Winning the Fastnet and doing a pretty good job at the Middle Sea. But
on the Sunrise, yes. Bit of a story there, lads, isn't he, Ray?
He's a good fan of the show, Tom.
Yep, Tom listens in.
Yep, we know.
So he actually sent us a note during the week.
He did.
Post him going in and out of protest rooms. So
we'll talk about that a bit later.
We shall.
There's my
hang on.
Sunday night. That was what I was doing last night, playing with Matt.
Joe.
So Josie and I are on the same page in a way. With the offshore stuff, did you feel a passion for it? You enjoy it, or does it you get seasick or what?
No, I've never got seasick. I can read in the back of a car. I can be downstairs at the nav table all day long, all night long. Don't ever get seasick, which is good for a navigator. Yeah. I do love it, but I think it's a bit like a love-hate relationship, which most people have with it. It can be pretty brutal out there. But some of the best fun times I've had is when it's been absolutely blowing old socks and you're helming and it's really wavy and you can't see where you're going. And I love that. It's not everyone's cup of tea. And then you get on shore and you're like, can we go again?
Yeah, wow.
Okay, so you've just said it's a love-hate relationship. Most people hate the bit you just described. Which part do you hate?
Yeah.
Being on shore?
The lack of sleep. I really am not very good at sleeping. And so I can be in a bunk for 8 hours and just still not sleep. And then, that plays with your mind a bit, doesn't it?
Well, just what we suggest to people is they take and download a whole bunch of editions of Baccarati and just play that.
That'll put you to sleep pretty quickly.
Straight away. It's a service. It's a service.
They do say the dulcet tones of the Baccaratians.
I'll try that next time.
Yeah.
Did you venture further than UK waters with any big offshore stuff?
No, just the Fastnet once upon a time or twice, but yeah.
Can I ask what boats?
I did it last time in a J122.
Mm-hmm.
Really lovely family, just a lot of fun with a bunch of really good guys, amateur crew, and it was just, that's how it should be, it was really good fun. Really, really good fun.
Love it.
It sounds awesome, actually. I have to ask, without going too deep into the personal stuff, your husband, you've mentioned your husband, he was a sailor before you met, I take it?
He was, yeah. He's predominantly really he would associate himself as a windsurfer, not a sailor, maybe because of that cool aspect of windsurfing, obviously.
Yes.
And it was probably a little bit like when I was younger. We moved house, my husband and I, and then we decided to get a boat. And he said, we can get a boat together so long as I helm, as in he helmed. And I said, okay, fine. It was a B14. I probably was the smallest B14 crew there was out there. I mean, I'm only sort of 52 kilos, and it's a big kite to get down.
Yeah, sure.
So I basically then taught him how to start and race. He said, thank you very much, Josie. I'm off now. I'm going to get my own boat. So that's when we both bought moths.
I tell you, the B14s, they still go pretty well, those things. I just kind of feel that your husband might have committed to you pretty quickly, when you listed all those skills that you can do. You don't get seasick, you're happy cleaning the shed and the garage and doing all the tinkering on the boat. Like, it would have been a pretty quick decision on his part, I suspect.
Oh, you'd have to ask him. I wouldn't know.
Nice answer.
Yeah.
We did actually know each other for, I think, about 12 years before we actually started dating. So he took his time.
Oh, jeez.
12 years.
It's a shame. All right, well, before we go in depth on the moth, there is another critical element. If I'll just take everyone out there listening just to take a second and see if you can guess what Josie does for a career.
Profession.
It's a profession. Just take 30 seconds or 5 seconds to think, write down your little guess. And now, Josie, you work for North Sales.
I have worked for North Sales for the last 5 years, and I've just moved jobs to another company.
Oh. And before that, you started where? What was your career pathway?
My career pathway was I can kind of do maths. So I did maths at Oxford. Then I went back to university after my Olympic campaign, and then did finance graduate scheme at BAE Systems.
Yep. Okay, so through to BAE into North.
Yeah.
So Josie and Jordan, BP and I'll just leave you to it for a while.
Basically, the reason I was trying to get to the North thing was that when I say North, when anyone says North in the sailing world, they don't think accountants, but that's basically I don't know what your title was, but on the finance side. So I think you're quite senior on the finance side, running a lot of that element.
Yeah, so I ended up being Director of Process Improvement for globally for North Sales. You're absolutely right. In my job, I didn't have to sail at all, but obviously helped because you completely understood the industry. And that job found me, in accounting and finance, when you go for jobs, you don't really know what industry you're going for. So someone rang me up and said, got a job, the finance team's a bit broken, it needs fixing, I know you like a challenge. Do you know the company North Sales? Yeah. Yes. If they'll take me, I will definitely go there. It was a brilliant company to work for. I'm so passionate about the brand, and it was an unbelievably difficult decision to leave. It was really hard and I wish them all the best. And, you know, everyone there is a big family. And I was very fortunate with my role because I pretty much met most people in the organisation. So all the guys in New Zealand and in Australia and all around Europe and America. Unfortunately, COVID made me sort of have to stay here. But equally, yeah, it was a very global role, and you know, wish them all the very best.
The good thing is, if you'd stayed in the role, we have a lot of dirt on most of those names that you mentioned or locations that you mentioned. So we could have really assisted with some process improvement there for you. The reason I was sort of trying to go down that path is obviously there's been rig development. Like what people need to understand. Let's get onto your Moth. There's a whole element of rig development that occurred for you, I believe. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the Moth is wonderful because there are so few rules and it's a development class. So I think most people will look at me and say, how on earth could you possibly go racing with the size of the guys who also sail them? And just kind of keeping the boat upright in sort of 25 knots of breeze with a standard rig or a bigger rig, I just wouldn't be able to cope with. And I mean, you get caught out sometimes, don't you? And then you literally are stood on the foil, and it won't come upright. And I've been there. But yes, I probably was one of the first to go to a 5-meter mast about 4 years ago, and we developed a small sail back then. And it was brilliant. You know, it was a little bit like a handkerchief, but it got me out on the water and racing when perhaps I wouldn't have been able to otherwise.
So how much did you reduce the actual sail size? What's a standard Moth sail?
Yeah, so the standard sail area for Moth is 8.25.
Yeah.
And then mine was 7.1.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So percentage-wise, it was quite a big difference. And you certainly noticed it was a big difference, you know, like with windsurfing, you know, you step down a sail and it just becomes manageable, doesn't it?
Mm.
It's still a fairly substantial size sail for 52 kilos. Like that's a lot of sail. Obviously, you know, with a falling boat as well, the speed and the way the rig reacts is quite different. So I'm intrigued why you start. You know, was there a range of experiment, or it was just that's the number we came up with and went with it?
God, I don't know quite. I think we kind of put a finger in the air. It was like probably about 20% less, maybe. Sort of. You don't want to go too small because otherwise it then just gets way too twitchy. I mean, I've got a 2.9 square meter sail on my windsurf, and I mean, you sail with that in about 50 knots. It gets a bit twitchy because just the aspect ratio. It's and that little Moth sail is a little bit the same. Upwind it's fine, downwind it's really hard to drive because you just don't have the power, and when you're when the
big
apparent
angles. Big angles.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you also do a lot of work in the foil development as well for the different weights?
Well, as so much as I cut some off, yes.
Yeah, basically. Got the jigsaw out in the file.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So I think I might be a lone voice here, but I think having two big foils makes a big difference when you're really light. It's a bit like probably one of the big guys sailing in 20 knots of breeze in a big foil. You just trip over them. And so obviously my tripping over comes down a lot. So I've got a tiny little foil. I still think it's too big because I just trip over it sometimes. And it's kind of when you're tacking and you're not got it completely flat, you just haven't got the weight to kind of, I guess, swing the boat back down flat, and you're sort of hanging off for dear life. And yeah, so it's unbelievable how small these foils are, but yet they are they have an awful lot of impact, you know, with the water resistance underneath the water.
I guess we'll talk about the initiative in Lake Garda and the World Championships in a second. But when did the move into the Moth start for you? When was the first time you got up on foils, and how did that feel?
Oh, I've wanted a moth for such a long time, and they're obviously quite a high price tag on them. I remember my mum saying to me, "What do I want for my 30th birthday or my 30th birthday?" And I said, "Well, I quite like a moth, but I think it's probably a rather extravagant birthday present." So didn't get it until a couple of years later. My husband bought one, Paul bought one in September, having never sailed one, and so frustrating that, you know, he goes out on his first sail and you know, nails his first foiling dive. We then went sailing together with it, so we were two up in a moth. That was pretty quick, but had to eject because something else was just going to go horribly wrong. I don't think we would have both got across the boat going downwind in a dive. And then I bought one off a friend. Happened to be sailing in Saint-Tropez, and he was selling one, I was buying one. So went and bought it off him.
I assume it's a Mach 2 or
a Mach 2, yeah, Mach 2. Increased the value of it. Did a load of mods on that. Cut it up a bit. Put it back together. And then moved on to the Exocet shortly afterwards.
Right.
There you go.
It's what was the attraction for you though? Was it that it was cool, everyone was getting into it, or it was the tinkering thing, or what?
I don't think anyone can make you realise how much tinkering there is on a moth. I mean, you just literally, you may not stop. But there's obviously your choice, isn't it? So the Mach 2, you know, we could have kept them as they were, but we put bowsprits on them. We reduced the mast. We changed the wing bars. You know, we did it. But you could buy an Exocet and it, you know, it's pretty much set up. And I think some of the other brands are like that too. What was it? I don't know. It just looked like that's where sailing was going. I remember Adam May doing some flyby in the London boat show, and he flew past the dockside and picked a bottle up off the dockside, and that was actually pretty cool and pretty memorable. And actually just seeing them so close up front at the beginning, I mean, why wouldn't you? You know, and that's obviously is what's happened with sailing. You know, there's so much foiling out there now. I guess the moth was one of the early adopters.
I hope that wasn't a plastic bottle too, Mr. May. So were you always destined for greatness in the moth? Like you jumped in, you felt good straight away once you kind of got your mods and all the ratios sorted out a bit?
I'd love to say yes to that question. The moth is a brutal class. Like, you just can't get away from that. There will always be days where you come off the water and you feel so totally, utterly broken emotionally and physically. But equally, there is so much to gain. It's just the coolest feeling going foiling, and whether that be on a wing foil or a windsurf, foiling windsurf, or a moth, that just gliding across the top of the water is super quiet. And it's graceful when there's not much wind, and then when it's pretty windy, it's such an adrenaline rush.
Mm. Do you look at with the foiling moth, when you see what's going on, say the Imoca boats, which are sort of coming up, the keel boats coming up out of the water, do you look at that and just think, oh my God, I can't, that's crazy, or I wish I was on that, you know, I could really bring some expertise to that, or the same with SailGP?
Golly, well, the Imocas, I'd say, are a bit of a different kettle of fish to SailGP.
Yep.
And I do look at those flying across the ocean, and I think, golly me, that looks pretty out there. And I'd love to go and experience that, but equally it does look a little bit terrifying as well.
Has Ben called?
Pardon me?
Has Ben called yet, you know?
No, I'm waiting. I'm not sure he's got my number, actually.
Yeah, no, we've sorted that. That's okay. Stand by.
All right, can we go into the actual the female aspect of racing at the World? So with reference to 21 in Lake Garda, you know, which is a fantasy location, have you sailed Garda much before?
Yeah, love it. Every time someone says, "Do you want to go to Garda?" I'll literally jump at it. I think I probably sailed at Garda about 12 times in the last 10 years.
Yeah, okay. So I'll take that as a yes. Very keen. So when it comes to the worlds, because you get to the Moth Worlds, we'll come back to all the build-up events and stuff like that, but I just want to sort of think about the start line, because what is it, 140, 150 boats, and predominantly male fleet as sailing is there no quarter given, or, do you have it easy on the start line, or because you're smaller and you've got smaller rigs, is it harder for you or is it easier?
Well, my boat's yellow, and you know how people say, "Oh, you should always line up with a lemon." Oh. I just do wonder how many people think that I'm the lemon. But having said that, if they do, they shouldn't think that. There was some pretty close calls, obviously, as you can imagine, on the Moth start line. In the Gold Fleet, there is absolutely nothing like it in this world. The Moth Gold Fleet starts in the world is insane, absolutely insane. So anyone who hasn't seen them, normally your boats would be lining up pretty slowly, and then maybe like 5 or 10 seconds before the gun, you sort of go off and find your lane. In Moth start, you're all pretty much cruising very close, parallel to the line at 25 knots, and then at the last second you just turn up. And if you get it wrong, you're absolutely dead and buried, because there's just this massive void behind the fleet, and you could just not even get foiling. So you have to be up there on the front row. And fortunately, I was up there on the front row most times, but of course, get a good start, and then there's just all the pros just flying past you, and you're set up next to Bruni, and then he's just off, or Kyle or whoever it might be, and obviously they're almost twice my weight, so it's such a good experience though. And then if they get it really badly wrong, you realise that you're still in front of them halfway up the beat, which is also kind of quite a cool feeling, really.
So just before the actual racing itself, there was the initiative put forward with the like having the women down there prior to the event. Were you part of all that as well? What was it called? The
training camp.
The training camp that was set up.
Yeah, that was set up by Luca.
Mm-hmm. Luca, correct. Yeah.
I think it was a really good idea, and it was quite interesting talking to the other girls who was on that camp. That quite a few of them wouldn't have gone to the Worlds if the camp had not been there, because quite a few of them hadn't really sailed the Moth much. I have a huge amount of respect for Nina. She had done hardly any Moth sailing before she got there. She got given a boat, and she was battling with it, and it was fantastic to see. And she did it, and that's how you learn. So a lot of respect for Nina, for sure.
We had Luca on the show a few weeks back, and he actually, mentioned, talked a lot about this initiative, and he believes that it's the way forward, and is going to put a lot of effort and energy into it moving forward. Does he pull yourself and all the other girls in to guide that and help it grow?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, who doesn't like a bit of training? We can all get better with training, and there's lots of psychology around how females learn differently from males, and it was pretty evident that week that females certainly do learn very differently from males. And I think having whether we like it or not, having female-only camps, females do learn better when they're what I would say is like a safe environment that you can trip up, and it's okay to trip up, whereas guys are a bit more, probably have a bit more bravado and a bit more showing off, and they probably don't. I'd say guys don't really care whether there's females or males in the camp. I'm all for just getting people on the water and training together, and if there's good training, I'll be there. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter really who it is. But I think if we want to get more girls into the sport, they will learn easier and quicker if they're together.
Well, you've got Nina's a perfect example. I mean, I spoke to her the other day. She's just got out of quarantine from her trips, and she just had an absolute blast. So she said she was very black and blue, and she had some pretty big bruises. But she said the actual, the sailing of the boats and being around people like yourself was very inspirational. So definitely, I think it's a hugely positive initiative.
Yeah, it's good.
Mm.
So, sorry, Nick.
I was going to say, what's the intentions now, Josie? Are you in contact with all the females that were there? Is that you're trying to do something in the UK, going to back to defend your title next year?
Well, what are we doing in the UK? I mean, we have so many really good sailors that I can line up against in the UK, and I have one sat here at home with me as well. And we've got some really good sailors who've joined Netley. And then, of course, Weymouth is dreamy when it comes to moth sailing. The Worlds are in Weymouth in 2 years' time, and that's sort of the big aim for me. Argentina sounds like a lovely destination. Whether we end up getting there, I'm not sure, because it's a big commitment. Actually, if you're going to do well at a moth world, you can't just rock up and expect to win. So needs careful consideration, that one.
Sure.
It's I find it quite interesting, with the goal, from your perspective, would you like to see a huge jump up in female numbers, and to race independently of the men, or are you just happy to be all part of the same program?
No, for those who know me, I sail as a sailor. I don't sail as a female sailor. I was mega chuffed to get into the Gold Fleet and be racing against the best sailors in the world. My view is that I want to learn and just get better and be the best I possibly can be, and all for encouraging as many people as possible to get out on the water. I used to be a director of the Magenta Project, so I'm all for improving female sailing in general. But equally, I think it's really important to have role models. So hopefully, if there's one other girl that goes and tries foiling because of this conversation, that's a good thing, And it's about encouraging people, not necessarily pushing people.
Yeah, no, it's a lovely approach. I'm interested when you are actually sailing in that fleet, so when you're in that Gold Fleet, and I guess the moths are it's a bit weird anyway, because Slingers did it to everyone, just the ability for him to clear out on everyone. Do you look at that and just go, how am I going to get to there, or it'll never get to there?
So for the first thing is, it was absolutely beautiful to watch the top of the guys sailing. It's like an art form, they're doing a dance, and a Garda, it's pretty awesome, because certainly the qualifying, you can watch all the racing so close, and they're literally coming like a couple of meters to the shore and then tacking, and so you can see it so clearly with your own eyes how beautiful and how skillful these sailors are. I'm certainly not that skillful yet, and that's the bit that I can hugely improve on. If you're not nailing every single tack, every single jibe, making that decision where to tack, where not to tack, that definitely is what I can get better at. I don't think I'm ever going to be 90 kilos, so there's always a limitation, but equally, who knows, maybe I could be top 10 in a race if it's 6 knots of breeze, or if everyone pulls off the foils and I don't. I think you just got to be the best you possibly can be going into races. That's all you can ask yourself to do.
That's pretty much spot on. I'm interested, Josie, because you're sort of quiet and measured in your approach. On the water, is it the same? Like, do you get into a lot of biffs, or you? Yeah, are you the sort
this persona we see right now?
Yeah,
does that change the minute you put your life jacket on?
Are you ready to punch on at any moment?
Well, I have had almost a fisticuffs in the water before, which was quite interesting.
Was that with Tom or Kyle or?
I wouldn't like to say. I really wouldn't like to say.
Husband.
I do have quite a loud voice with me, so you don't want to mess. I'd say I kind of know the rules relatively reasonably well. So again, like, just don't go there.
Very cool.
A threat, by the way.
I think you're actually using this podcast as a way to position and make your next regatta easy. You're saying, I've got the lemon boat. Don't try and sit on me at the start line. Don't pull me on the rules. And if you do, I'm going to thump you. I've really picked up that message.
Well, so there was a time, it was the J111 World a couple of years ago, and I think I was the only amateur tactician, and I certainly was the only female tactician. And we got into shore and had 5 protests against me. We were winning overnight, and I came in and we had 5 protests against us. And I think the owners of the boat were like, "Oh my word! Like, how do you deal with 5 different protests?" They weren't actually different. In fairness, there were 2 protests. But basically pretty much half the fleet was going, "We don't like this." And I went in and won every single protest against us. And I sort of walked out casually back to the bar, and they're like, "How did you do?" I was like, yeah, it's fine, not a problem. So maybe a cool persona, but I will fight my cause when it's necessary.
Let's describe it as goal orientated.
Take note, listeners.
I love it. Mm. It's a fantastic approach. Like like the fact that you are, obviously small, 52 kilos is like half a normal human being. And sorry, I was just being cheeky. Don't take it seriously. The fact that you won't step back, I just love that. And the fact that you wish the same for other women is fantastic. So it's a great little package.
Thank you.
No problems. You're welcome. So what's next?
What's next? Golly, that's a good question. Well, I've been really trying to get into the Cape 31 fleet, and that's a really good fleet going on here in the UK at the moment.
There was until today, until they all fell over.
Well, that's what I was about to say.
6 of them on their side. But
so I haven't quite found the right team yet, but that's something I really want to get more into next year. And as of yesterday, there's quite a few of them in a rather sorry state, with a big storm that came through, and there's probably some photographs on the internet, I'm sure. That's really sad. I don't know whether the series is going to happen this year before Christmas. I don't know what the exact damage is, but that's the class. That's the class of the moment, really.
Dear oh dear, yeah. No, I saw those pictures, so it's you don't wish that upon anyone or anything.
I had conversations with one Mr. Nick Bonner this morning. He said it's not as bad as it looks, so it's. I'm going, okay, I'll take your word for it. It doesn't look too good to me.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the big Fast 40 sort of toppled over, and then obviously there's this whole bit of a domino effect, and it was my friend's Fast 40, and so I sent him a text saying, "I'm pretty sure you're all over this already, but that doesn't look pretty." But you don't know whether the boats are just slid on their cradles or whether the cradles are actually punctured, the hulls. So it could be cosmetic, it could be pretty structural, but I'm not to judge that. But
it's a good fleet to aim for. Dave Sweet's done a wonderful job of getting to up to 13 or 14 now there, or is that what it is now?
Yeah, Dave's done an awesome job, and I've been lucky enough to sail a couple of them, and they're just super easy. They're proper tweaky. I really enjoy sailing main sheet because you got a lot of lot of tweaks that you can do with the mainsail because it's so square topped. Jib's pretty easy to do. So you could sail as a sort of family or friends or pro sailors. It's the boat to be in at the moment. So the racing's pretty. When a class is good is when there's lots of different winners and
Absolutely.
No one's walking away with it at the moment. So it's definitely a good class to get into.
Interesting. So just before we go further down that path, who's your biggest competition at the moment? Like in the women, is it Jo? Do you get serious with each other or?
Jo stepped into it. I mean, she's obviously a formidable sailor, and we get on really well. I was very fortunate to spend a week or so with Jo a couple of years ago at Foiling Week, and so we just hung out together. So good friend, and I think with all the boys as well, you're good friends until something happens on the water. But I'm very much about encouraging people and getting better together. John Bertram was an influencer of mine, certainly when he wrote his book, and that was very evident. His message as well. You get better together, and then the best person wins.
Yeah, that's 100% true. Absolutely 100% true. What about when the double-handed offshore thing came about? Did you have sort of a bit of a resurgence of thinking, I might go to the Olympics again? Think about going to the Olympics again. Did that spark any thought for you?
I have been known to do a couple of double-handed offshores. Yes.
Nice. Love it.
Yeah, I actually really enjoy the double-handed offshore as a concept because you have to know everything about that boat and you have to have such trust in the other person. It's a pretty special formula, and I do it for fun. I think doing an Olympic campaign is extremely difficult at any point in your time in life. I think I've probably been there, done it, and I like my life a bit too much the way it is at the moment to make all those sacrifices. And the other thing about double-handed is probably even more expensive than sailing a moth, and that is probably a step too far already.
I'm interested.
What's the doc talk around that now at the moment? Are some of these teams that were put together in the view of the Olympics, something happening with the Olympics, are they still pressing on a little, or?
I think there's having some hard conversations. So there was a very core group of double-hander sailors in the UK anyway. So like, for example, the guy I sail with, Mark, he does it for fun and we do it for fun. It was never anything but that. I can imagine probably some of the more pro-orientated sailors will stop doing it unless, of course, they see it as a training ground for something else.
Yeah, sure.
It is a lot of fun, don't get me wrong. And, through COVID times, it was perfect, right? You could go sailing with one other person and not have to be within 2 meters of them. It was perfect sort of sailing.
Jordan likes it especially. He doesn't like other human beings. So. No, he's a lover.
Then on the same sort of vein, talking around the Olympic thing, I've noticed a lot lately. I'm starting to see a lot of photos of 470 combinations starting to pop up with the male-female thing. What do you think of that as an approach now that we've got a mixed 470?
I actually think that's fantastic. I think it's an absolute going to be a game changer for our sport. Another one. The NACRA's obviously been that for a while. I actually did a lot of my 420 sailing with a guy called Bevis, and I love sailing with Bevis. It was a brilliant team. Females and males are very different psychology-wise, and so actually having a pairing of one of each can really help the sport because you learn off each other and you'll learn different things off each other.
I heard the perfect I heard the perfect combination is a 52 kilo female at the helm of a 470.
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, Hannah Mills is smaller than me, and she's done pretty well. So
Yeah.
Well, you said you liked your life too much, but anyway.
Yeah, you'll get. It'll be really interesting to see how those combinations fall out. What about if there was a world champs in a class you wanted to do in Oz? Are you going to come down to Oz at any stage?
Oh, I love Oz. I've been to Oz quite a few times and sailed. One of my favourite days sailing was helming 18-foot skiff on Sydney Harbour. That was pretty cool. I love it down where you guys are.
Which team was that with?
Oh, I don't know. It was a long time ago. Okay. They're over there for the JJ, and they're like, "Do you want to go sailing?" And I was like, "Of course I do."
You're not the first female on those things. There's quite a few women go through that at the moment. So,
isn't it right that you can actually sail 4 up? So I was thinking I could be at the back of the bus helming and then have 3 big guys on the wire for me. I think that would be quite quick, wouldn't it?
Well, Josie, look no further.
3 big blokes.
Couple of big burly fellas.
Oh, mate, 18-foot skiff sailing. I think those days are over.
We're pretty tight with the 18s too. We can put a word in there for you, no problems.
Well, if I move to Sydney, I'll give you a call.
Yeah. Well, is there? Obviously, the new job's not transferring around the world, obviously, because you're set up in home. So there's no international travel as part of that.
There might be a little bit, but less so.
Right.
Yeah, less so. Still in finance, still in yachting.
Oh, it is in yachting. No, very good.
It is, yeah.
It's hard to pull that little extra kernel out, isn't it? We're just going, well.
It's in yachting.
Yes.
Does have a bit of travel. No, it's good. It's good.
Oh, the Olympic team. That's a fantastic appointment.
Nothing given. We're going to have to get you drunk.
Okay, I'll let you. So I've just joined a company, which is a very, very special company. It's called RWD, and it designs super yachts. And these boats are absolutely exquisite. It's absolutely beautiful. And again, you can never go and find a job like that. It finds you.
Yes.
I'm very blessed to have been accepted as part of that new organisation. And it's early days yet, but it's a fantastic company, and looking forward to the challenge ahead on that one.
Fantastic.
Yeah, no,
there you go, folks. Check
wonderful.
It out.
RWG. Now, everyone will have a look at them now. You watch. There'll be a sudden hit on the website.
If you go to the website, there's nothing actually on the website. It's pretty awesome in the fact that you would have no idea what the company does if you look on their website. But if you look at Boat International, you'll see some of the boats that we've designed, and they're pretty special. Special.
Wow. Yeah, we like super yacht, so we're ready for the invite anytime you want. We'll happily come on and entertain the owners, no doubt at all. Right, Josie, we've sort of come right to the end of the time that we've got. Boys, you got anything else you want to rip in before we have to sign off?
Just to say thanks for joining us, Josie. You've been busy in the last few days, and Poseidon didn't stop your cycling, but Poseidon knocked a couple of boats down for you, which might put a halt in proceedings for a little bit. But best of luck with everything going forward, and look forward to seeing you out there again, skiffing around, mothing around, the moth froth, as they call it.
The moth froth. Yeah, look, from my point, I think it's congratulations on being the world champion, and good luck in 2 years' time defending it.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and thank you very much for inviting me.
Absolutely.
I do have one last question for you, just before we throw you off. Is you've mentioned quite a bit about the encouraging females. So if somebody sees a bright yellow moth rigging up in the UK and they're female, they're happy. You're more than happy to have a chat, I'm guessing.
Oh, I'm more than happy to have a chat with anybody, whether it be on Facebook or LinkedIn, dare I say.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all for speaking to lots of sailors out there who are thinking about making the move or just general sailing. I've been a mentor for quite a few female sailors, and hopefully they've got something out of that. And yeah, absolutely all for supporting and coaching anyone out there who wants to either make the leap or improve their sailing careers, for sure, definitely.
And my final question before we get rid of you, Josie, how's this for a proposal? Now think carefully. We'll put it under a different name so you can be anonymous, but how would you like to do this show again, but we get you drunk beforehand?
Well, so long as there's champagne involved, maybe.
Sure, we can arrange the best champagne you want. We've got contacts.
Excellent.
Because we don't want to ruin your career, so we'll put it under a false name. We'll call you.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, my nickname's always been Hose B, so could always do that.
Cool. Absolute pleasure, Josie. It's been great fun chatting to you, and we're behind you 100%. So keep us in the loop with anything that you're up to.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Josie.
It's been a pleasure meeting you all. Thank you very much.
Good on you, Josie. Well, bit of moth froth there for sure. 2021 world champion, not a bad effort, got to say. What else do you say? I mean, a world champion is a world champion, right? And the fact that she just gets out there and does it, mixes it up with the entire fleet is wonderful. But wants to get amongst it with people who want to give it a crack. So.
I wonder if you did a survey, right?
Okay.
Like so everyone who competed at the Moth Worlds on their level of satisfaction, their level of fun, just basically a few different surveys, and then like do it to the laser fleet. See what the difference is going to be.
Yeah, it's probably not. Doesn't make the same sort of impact, does it? Laser froth.
I enjoyed chatting to Josie then. I thought, you could tell the way her brain worked, like it was very analytical. She was going through the process. Wasn't going to give everything away. Like you could see there with a lot of the answers, there were a few little extra details there that she was just keeping to herself. And, if we did ever get her in a pub, my personality, I would just keep going and going and going. But,
Oh, yeah. And then you kind of find that line of inappropriateness.
Yeah, that
just keep pushing.
Just right on that edge. Just dipping on that edge.
But Jay, she's a 2021 Moth World Champion. I'm pretty sure she won't, hold back as well. So
we'll see. We're going to make it happen anyway. But I do like the idea of getting guests on with false names and just running a slightly different program. I'd be intrigued to do that. I reckon we might do that one. We'll just come up with a generic name, like Mike the Midfleeter or something like that, like something, some random name that we give someone, and then
the Dutch guy, Mike the Midfleeter.
Yeah, that's it. And then just ask questions and see what comes out. So people are, because obviously people understand that we don't record after, but we chat some more. And we find out so much stuff. I wish we could share some of that stuff, Anyway, all right, let's move on. Any club event news this week?
It's actually starting to take some momentum, the club event.
Get a bit of traction, you reckon?
No, we're getting lots of correspondence coming in via one of several different messaging ways. To tell you the truth, it's a bit hard to keep a handle on it all. Between Facebook, Instagram, bloody personal messages, emails, all those sorts of things. But shout out to Bell Reeve Yacht Club, who they actually had an event this week. Kind of one of their first big ones of the season. It was a bit hairy from what I understand. A few shoots out, some nice racing through the night. So while everyone's in Well, it was mentioned by Rob Cumin. It's basically, whilst the rest of the world's in lockdown, they're racing.
Love the fact that I get all the hard...
Reality is in Europe, everyone's racing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I love the fact that I get the hard foreign names to pronounce and you laugh at me and then you get a simple Aussie name and you just sort of backwards and forwards on that one. So good on you.
No, that was actually for your benefit, Rob Cumin.
Thanks. It's good to see that stuff going on. Good work. Do we have a listener of the week? Jack Lloyd, listener of the week. More a shout out to Tom Cheney. Josie mentioned his name. He's the navigator on Sunrise. He was just keeping us a little bit up to date on what's happening in Malta with what was, as we all heard about and would have seen, is essentially they moved the finish line. So it did shake a few people up and it took the clubhouse leader Sunrise off of the top of the podium. So
definitely did shake a few people up, and on the back of the Mini as well, it was there was a lot of people sort of a little bit lost as to what's going on.
Yep.
There was some interesting comments that came through saying that was in the notice of race, it was this and that, and which is
in the
fair enough.
sailing instructions.
But there's still some valid arguments as to how it was done and in
how
the
it
end.
Transpired. Yeah, I've read the SIs and notice of race and stuff. So you can see where it is, but yeah, it
was a grey area, wasn't it? With 69
boats had finished. Yeah.
Anyway, we may follow up with that if we want. We just didn't have time to reach out to you this week, mate. Thanks for the message, but we'll get on to it. All right, Bicey. What are we calling your segment? A hot night with Bicey? A hot time with Bicey? Hot night with
Bicey. Everyone send in their send money.
Yeah. By the way, if you do want to send anything in, like Bicey's saying, there's all sorts of different methods. Probably cheers@barkarate.com. Cheers@barkarate.com is our preferred methodology because we don't have to hunt for it. It's right there. Yeah. If you want to send an audio file, send it because we've got the technology. We could load it up. So you're more than welcome.
You got your toy there ready to go. Yeah. So hot time with Bice this week. The hot time is going to be for a little bit different today. We got the 580 Transat going on from our good friend Don McIntyre, which is basically they're on their way. They're going to finish sometime before Christmas.
Did they start yet? They didn't start last night. Did you guys not pick up on it?
Today.
They start today. I think they're going to go for today. Did you? I think the story was that conditions weren't perfect, and then one of the guys was still towing his boat to the start, and they elected to wait. Which I think
the race committee. God, you can't do that, race committee.
There's 6 boats going, and they're all mates.
So we've got the 580 on their way. We've got the minis, who are
started yesterday weekend.
Racing are underway,
which is a very good point.
And the TJV. So
that starts as this goes to air.
Basically, as this goes to air, it's going to be like avoiding sunfishes all over the joint.
Didn't we do this last year? Didn't we have the same situation? There were boats.
We pretty much did. It's that time of year, kind of mid-November-ish, things start shaping up.
It was bad enough with the Mini in the way. How are you going to go with a 580? It's even weird. And it's wood for that matter.
That's right.
And crossing the Bay of Biscay in November is always a great thing to do.
Oh, wonderful.
So based on all of those guys, I've got a question for you. What would you most like to be on right now?
I can tell you what I would like to not be on.
The 580?
Correct. The mini.
The mini, yeah.
I was watching some video on those things. There's a bit of hobby horsing going on. I'd like to... I reckon I would like to be on an Omoka 60, but then when you talk to everyone, they get smashed around. So maybe one of those Ocean 50s, the Trimarine. Not the old team, the Ocean 50. I reckon that's in my sweet spot there. Or even the 40s. I like the 40s. So you guys,
especially the class 40s.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Once you're in the trades, yeah, absolutely.
Once you're in the trades, yeah. Or
not across the Bay of Biscay in November.
Yeah. Oh, but that could be a short trip depending on how you approach it. But once you get past the Finisterre, you can often pick up a trade there if you get the conditions right, or you can get that sort of wind that runs down past Portugal there. So, but the 40 in the trades, I reckon it'd be unreal, wouldn't it?
No, it's going to be the viewing of TJV is going to be sensational, and I'm super excited to see these new edition Omokas going, especially our mates on 11th hour.
Yep.
And all the foil development that the other ones have made.
Yep.
So that's going to be super interesting.
No, I'm most interested, I'll be honest, in the Transat Jacques Vabre. That's a big race, not discounting the mini fleet in any way or anything that's going on, but the Transat Jacques Vabre, because there's going to be so much to see. There's 3 different courses that they're racing. So for those who aren't aware, they leave from France and they're sailing. Oh, where are they sailing? I'll look it up because I've completely forgotten. Where are they going to? They're going over to Martinique. There we go. Le Havre in France to Martinique. So the interesting thing is that the Class 40's got to leave Cape Verde to starboard. Cape Verde, no, bloody. Oh, what's the island's not the. I've got a mental blank. What's happened to my brain? They're going. The Class 40s are going around the group of islands just below the Canaries. Cape Verde.
Verdes, yeah.
Yeah, the Verdes. Yeah, I got it right. Okay. I just had a mental blank. And then the 40s and the 50s, the 60s, the Imoca 60s and the Ocean 50s. They're going down and doing a turn off on that just off
Fernando de Nora.
Yeah, the eastern point of Brazil.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the old teams are heading further down to just off Rio somewhere and then back up. So they're all going to Martinique. They're all going to take around that sort of 14 to 17 to 18 days. Is what they're expecting.
So the Class 40s, 4,600 miles.
Yeah.
Ocean 59 Moccas 5,800 and the old team's 7,500.
Yeah. So the Ocean 50 should be the first in, I reckon. Then it should be reasonably equal. Maybe the Imoca's next, and then the 40s and the old teams coming in around that sort of 17-day sort of thing is what they're budgeting. It should be fun. So old teams, unfortunately, are going to have to cross the equator twice.
Yeah, so.
Oh, actually, so do the 50s and the 60s, don't they?
So that'll, slow the old teams down for at least 3 minutes.
Once they get through that squall.
I'm interested to see what footage we get off. So one of the reasons that makes me more interested in that is that obviously with the mini fleet, it's hard for them to get any footage off, like their hands full as it is. They're single-handedly going single-handed across the ocean, whereas the other boats are going double-handed. So maybe there's a bit more footage coming off. Probably got bigger budgets so they can upload stuff. So
there's no way of getting any footage off a mini.
No, that's right. Just unless you shout it or release a pigeon every day.
Yeah.
Shanghai onto a passing cargo ship.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. So it's a good bit of viewing coming up for everyone. So particularly if you like sailing across the Atlantic.
Yep, and we'll be sure in our next edition to give it a full breakdown. Actually,
what's going on?
Basically, one of the biggest events of the yachting calendar, and should be a buzz in France at the minute. So, fantastic. So,
BP, how long are the minis going to take to get across at the moment? Are you looking at the mini fleet?
I'm actually looking at it right now.
Yeah.
Excuse me. They're
3 days in when we're recording this. So it's
a 3-week thing. 2,234 miles to go. The leader of the series division. It's interesting. There's 2 Germans and a Uruguayan in the top 10. So that's good. Our mate Melvin Finks come back. He's into 7th overall. So that would put him in good position. But 3 weeks.
So just for the listeners, we're recording basically we've just published Sunday and we're recording Monday because we're all going sailing effectively. So we've got no chance of recording. We're not even sure we'll be able to get this recording up because stuff's happening. So I'll have to work the technology out on that. But yeah, so whilst we're talking positioning and placings, we're talking a week out from when you're hearing this, basically. So the Transat Shark FAR will be just going as this goes, in theory, goes to air. And then, then the next week when we talk about it, it'll be a week done. So they'll sort of be halfway through. The minis will be, most of the way across the Atlantic and having a good time. And the 580s will probably have covered 200 mile.
580s will still be at Finisterre. Good on them. Like little baby ducks following mummy. It's a good analogy.
The one thing about that class, though, like there's 6 boats going, right? 5 and 1 on a trailer at the moment. 6 boats going. But there's 100 and something under build already, isn't there?
Yeah. So the plans, there's well over 100 plans out or 200 plans out and 100 are currently underbuilt, including one being built here in Adelaide by one Dan Turner, who we'll have on the show at one stage to talk us through that process.
So it's just like building America's. Is it stitch and glue, or how are they building them? Is it like sheet?
No, it's traditional. So you basically buy the CNC kit.
Yep.
There's 15 suppliers worldwide, or you can just buy the program itself.
Yep.
Cut it all out. But traditional boat building methods, you got to build the frames and set it all up and run the stringers and all that sort of stuff, and then plate it. Plywood.
Just plate it with, and it's plywood.
Plywood, correct. So all that banging on we've done about home building boats. This is exactly it. Exactly it. So I'd be interested to see what the stats are. Some very amateur boat builders, some professional boat builders, to have a look at the timings and see how long it actually takes to get a boat like this on the water.
Gaboon ply, is that what you use? Is that the word? Did I get that right?
There's a different, you can use different, well, it depends where your supplier comes from, right?
Yep.
So obviously, I think there was one question about on the hull sheeting, maybe it was like 12 mil, but people are using 2 at 6 mil and a few different things, but whatever it is. But
2 at 6 mil's got to be better, doesn't it?
You'd think so.
Yeah.
With the extra strength. So,
I would have thought.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll watch.
We'll see.
A handful of paddle pop sticks and some clay glue, and off you go.
Yeah,
off you go.
And if you stuff it up, then just donate it to the local cricket club. It'd be a good slips catching device. Bouncing the ball.
I was thinking that Dan Turner should call his VB Express 2 for sure. Same sort of origin.
So it's
All right. Well, cool. What else we got, lads? That's it, isn't it?
Yep, that's it, boys. Been a pleasure. Everyone enjoy their yachting this week, and we'll be seeing our listeners. Not seeing, they'll be hearing us across the airwaves with quite a few updates from the Atlantic. Let's say.
Yep. Cool.
All right.
So,
good on you.
Love your work, gents.
Okay.
Cheers.
Catch ya.
Bye.
In front of the crest, come smother me. And I look behind, don't look behind.
You never look behind me.
Yeah.
So little time, I'm gonna make it right.